everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. I am Fariba and we're just about to watch the 5th episode of She-Hulk, which means that we're just about more than halfway through the series, and so afterwards we're only going to have 4 more episodes left. And so far, as I mentioned before in my previous reaction videos, things are kind of picking up, slowly but surely. As we saw in some of the more previous episodes, what we've seen so far is just basically Jennifer just trying to figure out how to balance out her superhero and her, lawyer life all together. We've seen elements of it happening throughout each of the episodes. The first episode was just basically kind of how her powers came to be. The second one was just kind of the first exposure to what is life like as a superhero. And then we've seen kind of like the latter episodes talk more about kind of her attorney side of it and just kind of how she's getting more used to it, to the whole superhero, side of things. And of course, in the last episode, as I mentioned before, one of the greatest things about the last episode was Wong, who appeared in that episode, which I'm going to assume he might be showing up more often, but based on some of the promos that we've seen, it looks like Daredevil might finally be showing up today. So that one's going to be very interesting. I'll talk about that more in a second. But just to kind of go off from where we were in the last episode ended off with what could just be the turning point of the series. We learned that Titania has now gone out of prison. She's free now, and now she's suing Jennifer for the trademark for She-Hulk. So that's going to finally, as I mentioned, I kept, kind of saying in the previous episodes where, I haven't really been seeing the villain, so it's kind of concerning, and now we're finally seeing her coming back into the big screen and finally kind of establishing more of the big picture of Jennifer's whole dynamic, her character arc, and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping that moving forward, we're going to start seeing kind of that progression moving forward, which, again, if that is the case, that's great, because then that kind of makes up for some of the episodes before, because it was just merely just development, whereas here it's kind of like, well, now we finally reached a point where we can really start getting to kind of the big points of the series and trying to get to that end game that will come out hopefully in a couple of weeks from now. And then, of course, just moving back into the whole Daredevil conversation. He's apparently going to be in this episode. I think might be this episode. I'm not going to get too excited about it. We'll see I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it, But again, there was some previews of Daredevil showing up. They've given an idea for it. I believe even at D23, they just gave they showed a brief footage of it. So I'm assuming this has got to be the episode. And I mentioned before in my last episode where I kind of predicted too early about the Daredevil cameo. It's just super cool just to see Charlie Cox come back as the Daredevil. As I mentioned before in my previous video, I watched the original Daredevil series back when it was still airing on Netflix, and just like everybody else, when the show got canceled, just as there had been possibilities of a 4th season, it definitely was a bit of a downer just to hear that news, right? It was a very grounded, very sophisticated show that was like no other Marvel shows that we had seen before, and luckily now that he's coming back, especially with bringing in at least the previous main cast like Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox. And so now we'll start to see a bit more of how they're going to be integrated into the MCU moving forward. I know we got a bit of a footage of Daredevil back in Spider-Man No Way Home, but it was just a 30-second clip that didn't really give us much information about how he's, part of the MCU. And as for Kingpin, we kind of did see him. We saw his relationship with Echo, but again, we haven't been able to get an answer a direct answer in terms of how the Netflix series would connect with the MCU if there is any sort of canon to it. So hopefully in this episode we'll see a bit more of that. Maybe we'll get more of the answers as to kind of whether the MCU will address more of the Netflix content that happened. So some of his more, grounded, very complex storylines, his issue, his conflict with Wilson Fisk, the situation regarding his father and his mother, which again that was a big part, and if there's going to be any reference to the Defenders or even Elektra in that case, although there's been kind of reports about that, but I'm not going to go into those. But yeah, without further ado, I am super excited to see this episode, so let's get started with episode 5.
Strength is beauty. Beauty is strength. What makes you beautiful? She-Hulk by Titania.
First, then she would have been able to talk back, you know?
She-Hulk by Titania. Thank you.
They even trademarked the title.
I'm so sorry, little child. The line starts way back there.
I don't want to cut. I want you to stop and take all of this down.
What seems to be the issue?
You're using my name to sell your trashy products, and you're suing me? Oh, get over it, Jennifer. The name's She-Hulk.
It's mine.
Oh, we're just talking to myself.
All right, I can't pretend like I'm here for a friendly visit. I need a favor.
Oh, well, you know my price. Return favor plus interest.
Done.
Okay.
Will you stand in line with me, waiting for a sneaker drop? The Iron Man 3s are coming out and they're limited to one pair per customer.
Wow,
Why do you
that's
need
the
two
thing.
Brag to you or anything, but I do have some pretty rare limited editions.
If you think
that I
about it,
got
Iron
from
Man
my
would trademark his name. He's pretty smart.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I got
Broker, find someone who could do custom clothing for, say, a superhuman size person.
no doubt.
Okay. I'm gonna need to call in my favor right now.
But you haven't even done the original.
I feel so much shame. He's mad. I offended him.
Okay. Come to the back. And then,
You need back rooms?
what do you need? I got everything. Got a shoe, door hammer,
Merch.
and just t-shirt.
This is Avengers.
You don't like Avengers? I got Avengers.
Oh, with an eye.
I kind of like this.
Okay, no, we don't want bootleg stuff, okay? I want custom-made clothing for a superhero. Me. So the name She-Hulk was never really mine officially. Everyone in the media just started calling me that, but now this incredibly awful, slightly superpowered woman, Titania.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Did Doctor Strange have to trademark his name? Did Thor? You chose two examples of people who use their real names.
Nice suit, Shrek.
Oh my god. So we are making these Shrek jokes, huh?
Your Honor, we move to dismiss this entirely from...
They're proceeding to trial.
Since the first public appearance of Jennifer Walters in her Hulk form, the public has unanimously identified her with the name She-Hulk. In fact, the name She-Hulk had not even to grant our motion for summary judgment and order our requested remedies.
Okay, first of all, Shan, why don't you try telling that to the thousands of testimonials from my fans who have had nothing but amazing results with my exclusive line of She-Hulk foot exfoliants, which I just so happen to have a little sample of and offer into evidence. Thank you.
No, we don't need, can we? My client list is very exclusive because my work is impeccable.
Well, like I told you before, She-Hulk
Time to start looking for some Easter eggs,
It
huh?
hasn't been announced yet because they're still working at the deal and stuff, but basically she's an Avenger. The Hulk is her cousin.
By blood.
Yeah. And she.
That's true.
Yeah. All the way down, small, impish. Large. Superhuman.
Do you think you could design a suit that would adapt to both of my bodies?
I mean, come on, have you ever done a Hulk before? This is huge. This is huge.
Tinsley!
I am. I'm one of the biggest. Just had a meeting with my favorite lady lawyer.
No touching.
We should, we should reconnect soon.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Yeah, drinks on me.
Okay.
You rolled over
So quickly. About me section, my client wrote, and I quote, "Mean, green, and straight poured into these jeans." And to answer the question, what are you looking for in a partner? My client wrote, a sturdy back and reinforced king-size bed. JK, JK, JK. We'd like to call our witnesses. Hulk had instead presented as Jennifer Walters.
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but
No. She's, not really my type. But She-Hulk, She-Hulk's incredible. She's amazing.
With that extremely attractive man sat in there. You can do better. You deserve better.
Can I buy you a drink to say thanks?
Sure. Here you go. I'm so happy we're doing this. Cheers.
Quite a strategy.
I don't know any other lawyer who would humiliate themselves that way to win a case.
Yeah. But guys, the things we put up with, I am so happy we're friends now. What? Did I just say that out loud? Thanks for the drink.
Of course.
Oh, wow. I don't know that I'll really have an occasion.
Just say thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Hello? You should have left out in the open. Tinsley, does client confidentiality mean nothing to you?
That was the 5th episode of She-Hulk, and we saw a lot more of just kind of Jennifer just trying to accept kind of her whole persona as She-Hulk, and I think this was kind of a reality check for her to the point where, well, even though she said in the past that she didn't like being called She-Hulk, she's now accepted it. And we got this whole, quick lawsuit type of thing between her and Titania. It didn't go too far. It was a pretty quick sort of suit that was settled in court. So, I mean, I guess that's a really good thing because the last thing you kind of want to do is have a whole bunch of episodes being dedicated to just having a lawsuit being done, right? So, when we have a lot more of the story to kind of keep going. So, I think for one part, again, it's starting to kind of establish a bit more of the conflict between Titania and She-Hulk, especially because Titania is now out of prison and she's an influencer and all that sort of stuff, right? So I'm still not getting the idea of kind of just like how their conflict kind of, rises. Like, I mean, we still don't know exactly why Titania went inside the courtroom in the first episode and decided to, go all full berserk in the middle of a case. So that's still like a lot of questions right there that I even this episode didn't really answer. So I hope that I'm hoping hopefully that they'll try to address more of kind of what happened in that first episode. We haven't gotten that answer yet, but we do see Titania. She seems to be the villain, of course. And I guess this is like kind of the most that we've seen of her, that she's just this influencer who kind of likes, who bases all her fame on clout basically and all that sort of stuff. And in terms of just the episode itself, like, I mean, it's not my most favorite episode thus far. I think it was just it was definitely a bit of a slower episode in terms of just trying to kind of develop anything in the sort of it. I mean, I think in one case I do appreciate the fact that they are taking things slow in terms of trying to narrate Jennifer's story, because I mean, but like in the past a lot of us have addressed the issue in regards to a lot of the Disney Plus shows being way too quick in terms of pacing, right? Because a lot of it has to do with the fact that that the episodes are usually about 6 episodes long, which is not enough time to really develop a story. But this show is a bit more fortunate to have 9 episodes. So they are taking a lot more time and just trying to get to the big picture of things, trying to, get to kind of the final act of everything. I think as of what we are right now, we're just in the middle of the slow part of that second act. So we haven't even gotten to the third act yet. So it's kind of like, okay, it is kind of a really slow journey that's going on now. So now we've gone from one part where things are going a bit too fast to now kind of, okay, now we're getting a bit too slow in terms of the pacing, because I would love to kind of speed things up in terms of Jennifer's story, especially just to get to the big point of just her whole arc, right? Like, where is her arc gonna go moving forward, right? So that's why I don't think this was my favorite episode, just because like aside from the fact that yes, they kind of started to establish kind of where she gets her suit, which we're probably gonna see by the next episode of her, new suit. Um, but having said that, it's like okay. Aside from just this court scene and that, it's just like okay. But I would like to kind of get to start moving forward a lot, just to like the big stuff, because like we only have 4 episodes left. Like I think that's where it's like okay, well now we have 4 episodes left. Is it enough time to start, getting to essentially just the middle part of like what would be a film and trying to develop in so in a case where we do get to the final act. There isn't really a lot going on in terms of this episode. Like, I mean, hopefully it's just, maybe this might be the last episode where things are getting a bit too slow, and then hopefully kind of speed things up a little bit. I think definitely one of the big nods so far is, of course, the very end with the Daredevil kind of hint. So I guess that's kind of an indication that we're going to get Daredevil by episode 6. Again, I don't know how he's going to be introduced, aside from, the fact that they happen to have the same designer. It kind of looks like they're already changing a big part of Daredevil's story, because if you remember from the Netflix series, his suit was made by, oh crap, I forgot his name, Bill or something like that. There was that one guy from the underground, I can't remember what his name is, but he had a specific designer who also had worked with Fisk or something like that. And now it's like, okay, they're kind of changing that arc a little bit here, where it's like, well, he reaches out to like an actual designer or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he changed it later on. Who knows? I mean, because in season 3, the guy did technically get arrested, so maybe that's the reason why. But I don't know. We'll hopefully get a lot more answers to that moving forward. Now that he will not just show up in this show, but he's also going to show up in Echo and have his own series as well. So. It'll be exciting just to see Daredevil, hopefully by the next episode, maybe 2, we'll see about that. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. I think it's just not my favorite episode so far. I think there could have been a lot more going on, but hopefully we'll start seeing a bit more of things kind of pacing a lot better. But yeah, let me know what you think. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? What are things that you liked? What are things you didn't like? Are you stoked about a possible Daredevil appearance by next episode? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.